guidelines are 1, do not interrupt others. Let people finish talking. Be mindful of the space you take in the room. Be mindful and be open-minded. Ask for clarification. Before arguing, talk about MEChA business only here. If it's not on the agenda, we don't speak about other organizations or people. Use gender-neutral language. Example, y'all, everyone, your majesty, them, organizers, folks, amiguexes, guerexes, revolutionarexes, mechistexes. What is said here, it stays here. This is a safe, supportive, brave space. We take what you learn, be welcoming, say hi to everyone, sit next to someone you don't know, introduce yourself to the person, call in, don't call out, practice using the word I and avoid using the word you, recognize your privileges, use I statements at the same time, remembering that you are collective. We also have facilitators today, so please sign up those who are facilitating the meeting today. So these are the people that we be facilitating the meeting. Melissa too, sorry. And these are the only people that will actually be able to talk in this meeting today. And remember just to not interrupt other people and let them finish talking.
And then we are going to be doing the gender-neutral tally.
Oh yeah. So we take a tally mark every time somebody says something that's not gender-neutral language. So we'll start off by name, pronouns, and that's it. Anybody want to start?
I'll start it.
Go ahead.
So hi, I'm Natalia. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hi everybody, my name is Juan Antonio Jimenez Santos. My pronouns are he, him, and his.
Hi, my name is MEChA. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hello everyone, my name is Juan. Pronouns are they, them, theirs.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Victor Navarrete, pronouns he, him, his.
Hello, my name is Cecilia Mark, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm Aurora, my pronouns are she, her, hers.
I'm Ivan Arzate, pronouns he, him, his.
Leanna Mathis, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
My name is Brenda, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
My name is Melissa, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hi, my name is Wendy Torres, and my pronouns are he, her, she, her, hers.
Hey everybody, my name is Angel Ramirez, pronouns he and his.
Hi, my name is Shalom. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hi, my name is Edna Rodriguez, and I go by she, her, hers. My name is Carolina, my pronouns are she, her, hers, ella, ella.
My name is Ashton, I go by he.
Your name is she, her, hers. Gabriela Jimenez, she, her, hers.
Manuela Severa, she, her, hers.
Jonathan Gomez, he, him, his.
Charlie, he, him, his.
Tim Flood, he, him, his.
Sunny Cooke, she, her, hers. Diane Deckmeyer, she, her, hers.
Ankita Wojcik, she, her, hers.
Nick Mortelloni, he, him, his.
Charles, he, him, his.
Marianne Mata, she, her, hers.
Zachary Chacon, he, him, his.
Daniela Pesa, she, her, hers. Oh, Wendy Arabia, she, her, hers.
My name is Victoria, he, him, her, him. His.
My name is Alicia Lopez, she, her, hers.
Hello, my name is, oh, sorry. No, okay. Amanda Escobar, she, her, hers.
Edith, she, her, hers. Mariana Barete, she, her, hers. Yvette Galindo, she, her, hers. Nancy, she, her, hers.
Eduardo Aguilar, him, his.
Yes.
I'm practicing him.
Zulema Diaz, she, her, hers.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, so at MEChA we usually have like a MEChA 101, and a MEChA 101 is just kind of a way that all of us kind of like inform each other and educate each other. We here at MEChA we see each other as educators and teachers. So we wanted to bring actually a poem in MEChA. And then so this poem was actually written by Luis Valdez from a longer poem called Pensamiento Serpentino. And with the MEChA, this was in 1971. Actually today, March 3rd, 1968, in Los Angeles, there was a walkouts that happened 51 years ago. So because if it wasn't for the walkouts, we as Chicanx, Latinx students, we wouldn't be here. And also like some of this work we wouldn't have been presented to us. So I'm just gonna invite everyone to recite the Ilagech poem. It's really short, and as a way to kind of get started. Again, just so everybody knows that we're all educators and we're all learners as well. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to read this part first, and then this part over here, okay, and then so forth and so forth. So just kind of follow my beat whenever you're ready. So ready? 1, 2, 3.
Tú eres mi otro yo, you are my other me. Si te amo y te respeto, if I love and respect you, me amo y respeto yo. I love and respect myself. Si te hago daño a ti, if I do harm to you, me hago daño a mí mismo. I do harm to myself.
So now we're going to continue on to our conversation points, 40 minutes for this. So our first conversation point is space. In MiraCosta, lately the hate crimes has been provoked and they've been justified as free speech when in fact they are not. So we want to say that we need these spaces in order to feel safe. Many of us here need our spaces to feel safe, to feel welcome here at this college, and to be acknowledged. So what we are also asking is for a dream center for our undocumented students to go to find resources.
And not only documented, but undocumented people, documented, also AB 540 students. And when we talk about a space, we don't say like a piece of corner that we are actually sitting at. This is an example of how we have to sit in the space that we have. It's not even a space, it's just a little cubicle that at the beginning when I was in MEChA, I remember that the space was like this table and a wall. That was our space. And where in the world are we going to do our homework?
We want to use these spaces not just for a representation of ourselves and for the community that we represent here, but also because we have a function to these spaces. These spaces are also confidential to us. They make us feel safe. They make us feel welcome within them, such as our undocumented students. They want to be able to go to someone to find the resources to be welcomed as well on campus. If we can have a veteran center and an international student center, then why can't we have one for undocumented students? Because we are a Hispanic serving institution.
And spaces like the one that we have right now doesn't allow us to meet like this. It doesn't allow us to organize. Right now, that place is like a lounge. There's video games in there, so just putting that.
We are also asking that we want brown businesses represented here to be contractors for this. For an example, our MEChA shirts, we get them from our brown business because we want to give back to our communities to be there for those communities. It doesn't matter to us, but we know we're doing something right by helping our people. And also to recognize, as Marisa said, my compañera, that this is Luiseño territory. We want to acknowledge that we are here, we are organizing on it, and we should pay respect to that. So now I'm going to pass it off to my compañera Melissa.
Hi, everybody. So one of the things that we are also discussing is what do we want? We want professors and faculty of color, and not only that, but permanent. We just lost an amazing professor that's teaching Mexican American history because he wasn't permanent here. How long did that take? That now he has to leave us here. We are and not only professors, but staff, faculty. We emailed faculty to come and support us in solidarity. We had somebody respond that they're part-time, that they're afraid of what may happen by coming here today and supporting us. That's not okay. we also ask to be a part of the hiring process. We want to be included in that conversation. For myself, I've taken classes with amazing professors of colors, and I didn't know that there was literature that talked about my experiences until I started taking these professors. I took Chicano Studies. It was such a safe space for us. Somebody came out to our class. That's so powerful, so vulnerable. Like, that's such a safe space that they're able to come out to our class. In our race and ethnics class, somebody spoke to us about how they've even tried skin bleaching. It was such a safe space where we're able to heal and discuss these things and learn from each other. And they're healing classes, and we need more of them. So we just want to know, what are you going to do to make sure that we hire professors of color and faculty and staff, and what are you going to do to keep them here?
Okay, so now my compañero Ashton and I will talk about ethnic cultural classes, certificates, and degrees. There has been a lack of this, considering we only get one section for, say, Mexican American history class, and on the first day it's always overfilled. There's not enough room for all the students that want to take that class, that they end up getting dropped, and I don't think that's fair to them. And then we also have and then Chicano Studies, there's also one section. We want more classes, we want more representation.
And with that representation, we want to be able to spread the representation throughout the Latin diaspora, including African diaspora classes, other indigenous classes, to encompass all of us.
Yes, so we want Chicanic studies, African American studies, Native American studies, LGBTQIA plus studies, women's studies, degrees, and certificates. Not just putting us as an emphasis to a sociology degree. So we also want for these classes to be promoted. Not many students take it or can take it because they're too busy, filled with their schedule, or they don't know about it, or counselors discourage them from taking these classes. So we definitely want to be promoted as well. It doesn't take much to promote it on the website, on the MiraCosta website or social media pages. So we just want to see that our classes are here, that many students like us can take them, because they are very impactful to us. They make us feel welcome and align with our identities and be prideful of them as well.
And options like these, students would be able to take them, and not just like an elective. So we also, another thing that we talked about was a public declaration. We want Dr. Cooke to go up to, it has to be college hour, and have a public declaration saying that undocumented students are safe on this campus. Not only that, but staff. For example, I take a course, late night course, and sometimes I'm even afraid to go outside and walk at 9:30 to my car. Another example would be, I myself am undocumented. I know there's other students here on this space that are undocumented. And, sorry.
Come on, compañera.
And it's hard for me to talk about this because I don't open to anybody. Sometimes it's hard for me to pay for my classes because I don't have a job on campus. My dad recently was taken by ICE a couple of months ago, and it was hard for me because I'm the only one in my family that has a job and is able to help out. My dad has, he's an only father, and it's hard for him to help in the house, and for me to not be able to have a job that is able to pay my courses is hard. Not only that, but applying for for scholarships. I recently got accepted into San Francisco State, and that school is really expensive, and a job on campus, I can't get that. How am I gonna find the resources and money to pay for my classes and my arts? So it's just something that needs to be said. Out of all of the things, which one are you able to start like as soon as possible? And these are student needs, not staff needs. These are students. These are what everybody feels like they need on this campus. Dr. Cooke?
So I'm unclear. Are we able to talk to dialogue at this point?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I want to acknowledge the pain, the fear that I hear, the uncertainty, and thank you for sharing your story. I do want you to know that you have been heard. You were heard when you came to the forum that was in November. You were heard when there was some written material that was shared in the spring. There was the white supremacy stickers that went up on campus, and MEChA took a position on that. And I have to acknowledge, as you're saying that, as you're sharing your experiences and you're telling us what you need, we live in a world where that white supremacy incidents have gone up 182% across the nation between 2017 and 2018. That is the current world that we live in. And so we're going to talk about, we can't change a lot of that, but what we can do is talk about what we can do on MiraCosta's campus. And our wish to be with you today is really to follow up the conversation, the sentiments and the expressions that were shared in the forum. We promised that we would come back and share with you we agree with you on these points, and we want to show you some of the things that we have been doing that you may not be aware of. We want to show you that we've made progress in some of these areas. We are well aware. We are not close to being done. So let me say that first and foremost. We understand that this is a long journey, and there are things that we can do. As you said, there are things that we can do that might be able to be done quickly, and there will be things that we're going to need to plan to phase in because of various reasons. And the reason that we're all here is because it is not me doing the work that we're going to tell you is happening. We will begin a dialogue today. We want to show you some things that we've been working on for a number of years. We want to answer questions. We want to help you, have you help us with how do we make some of these changes occur on our campus. We can't, in five of us can't do it. We need all of you to do it with us, and we know that we are working towards many of the same things. So the reason that Alketa and Diane and I and Tim and Charlie are here are, first of all, so that you all know us and know our faces and know that you can come to us at any point to let us know that you have a concern or that you have a need. And there are some things that I heard today that any one of us could help you to get to a resource, get to some help, get to something that will make you feel safer. And so these folks are going to represent some of the work that is being done on campus. And I have a handout. I don't know if you want me to share that. We do want to go through some progress with you. And we want to be able to have you ask us questions. But to be clear, we know this is a journey. This is not a story that is complete. It is a story that is on its way to being traveled together. So is that okay? Can we hand out a document that I hope you may have to share.
Is it okay with the group? Can we group?
Yeah. And then I'm going to add, and we actually organized this document according to the concerns that you all raised when you were in the boardroom with us in the forum. So the first item is the same as your first item, which is about space. And Alketa, I'll have you speak to that item if you would, and
organization. And so some of the discussions that we have had around space has been only with a few of you, but really with the idea of how do we go back to really have the discussions around the ones that we had last spring, last fall, last spring. It just seems like, the semesters get mixed up together. But I want to kind of address the conversations that we had, and it was very specific around MEChA space in the club room, where I know that your needs are much bigger than that. I'm fully aware of the idea. I think when we had talked in these conversations that we had with some of the MEChA representatives, we started talking about the Dream Center, and there was a clear conversation about how that Dream Center conversation did not need to happen at that time with MEChA, that was a separate conversation from MEChA, and now it's part of it. So I think that's the conversation that we haven't had together with MEChA.
I think these are two different conversations.
Yes.
These are two different conversations. The conversations we have with the administration, with you, Wendy and Jose, that's specifically for MEChA space.
Yeah.
What we're bringing to the table today is specifically about a Dream Center.
And so I want to acknowledge that this was organized off of the written comments that MEChA provided to us. So it does not have Dream Center there, and I will be glad to add that. So I want to acknowledge that.
So for us, it was based on the conversations that we had with MEChA last semester when we met with a few representatives from the group to talk about some of the needs around the club space that had changed, where you were not able to do the homework and it's only one table, and really acknowledge that space was taken away from the club. And I think we acknowledge that as administration from the student services, we acknowledge that changes were done around the interclub council, that space was changed, taking away some of the spaces that were created in the past. And I think the conversation that I had with the representatives that we had is, I was a student at MiraCosta College many years ago, and I was a student who was very involved in the student government and student clubs. And so we collaborated a lot with MEChA, and I participated in a lot of events around the MEChA spaces. And so I know that it was much bigger than it is right now. And so for that, we wanted to acknowledge that as an administration and as an institution, there was some space taken away. And so the conversations that we left last semester was that we needed to have sort of a discussion around how do we redesign the club space to provide that space that was taken away in the past. And not only for MEChA, but BSU and GSA, and those conversations will happen separately. So that was the one conversation that we had. The other one was really acknowledging the role of MEChA, and specifically MEChA and BSU at that time in the late 80s, in the work that they did around advocacy for having that student center. And so that was another recognition that if it wasn't for the student involvement and the advocacy that you did, not only with MiraCosta College, but with the state, that the college would not have that student center space for the students. So at that point, that was also the acknowledgement with a plaque that we wanted to have available to acknowledge the work that was done. And so I know that the text has been sent to MEChA representatives that attended the meeting, and we were waiting for a response and going back and forth. As I said, those are two different conversations for the MEChA space. In terms of the Dream Center, we haven't had that conversation with the student groups. However, there are conversations that are taking place about the redesigning of the student center once certain services will be moved out of that with the building of the new instructional spaces. What does that look like? Really knowing that that is a student space. And because there is a student space, there are student processes in terms of what happens with those spaces once other programs have moved out of the area. So in the next 3 years, in the next 3 years, when we have the new building for the student services, there are 3 particular programs that are student support programs that are moving out of the student center. And so the conversation with ASG and the student representative through Student Life, who monitors the space around the student center, is how do we bring the student conversations and the student needs around how do we create those spaces in the student center. But really, because that is a student space, it is going to be guided by the students in what happens, And it's not going to be any of us deciding what goes in that space in the student center. It is going to be the students that have that conversation and what happens in the student center. It is funded by the students, partially. There is, some district funding to that as well. It is funded by the students, so we strongly believe that the students are the ones that determine how those spaces will look like through the processes that have been created through student life and representation of the students, which is the ICC and associated student government. Just to wrap up some of the conversation. But I know that there are two different between the Dream Center and MEChA space.
And looking at these documents, if you're looking at these documents, again, the MEChA space, the MEChA BSU, GSA is totally separate from the conversation we're bringing today. And it just seems like we were listened to by putting this here, because that's a separate conversation that MEChA specifically is having with the administration. For full-time professors of color, there are more white staff here than anything. We are asking for permanent employees who are professors of color, and these numbers are not looking good. At least for me, I'm looking for.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, Ron, but we would love to answer questions and tell you where we've been. I'm sorry.
Just a second, and then we'll get there. But it's just that I feel like this document is this document. I mean, it really doesn't. It isn't addressing what specifically we're talking about. And then I'm also looking at the ongoing efforts on page 2, where it says support for undocumented students. It's like there's no specific thing that says undocumented students. It says other organizations are taking care of undocumented students, but there's no one thing that is leading it, that is doing it. So I mean, the SJAC, I mean, it takes different programs. It's not specifically undocumented students. And then we're talking about Europe. Again, I mean, I know documented students fall within that, but it's not specific to undocumented students. So like, I'm just seeing all these programs that are not specific to undocumented students. I think we want to direct them more towards undocumented students. And I keep on repeating undocumented because that's a key word. AB 540, mixed status as well. And then also, we did say no police, but it says here that y'all want to hire more police. So like, I mean, I'm kind of like, at the end, new police officers, a mandatory. I mean, I have no idea why we would even have police on here if we
Because part
mentioned
of the conversation
no
was about training for police. So that's what we're not saying we're hiring more police. We're saying that our police are regularly required to take specific training, and we're reporting on that. And so your points are great. We are all trying to hire more faculty of color. So that this piece that's in the center is about the progress. So the MiraCosta community represents this demographic: 0.3% American Indian Alaskan, 3.1% African American, 10.5% Asian Pacific Islander, 21.4% Hispanic, 62.4% Caucasian, and 2.4% other. And so our full-time faculty, if you look at that middle column, there's only about 205 full-time faculty. There are 600 part-time faculty that represent MiraCosta, and they are in fact less diverse than our full-time faculty are. And so hiring more full-time faculty, we have to certainly pull from the part-time ranks, and we have to pull from across the nation, and that's what our national searches do. So if you look at the full-time faculty, whereas the American Indian Alaskan population is 0.3%, our full-time faculty are 0.5%. If you look at the African American population, the MiraCosta community is 3.1% African American. Our full-time faculty are 3% African American. The Asian Pacific Islander population within the community is 10.5%. Within MiraCosta, it's actually 8.5%. The Hispanic population in our community is 21.4%. The Hispanic population of our full-time faculty is 18.4%. So we know we have work to do in specific areas. Caucasian is 62% of our community, and it's 62% of our full-time faculty. Now, we know that we have work to do because our student body is actually enriched in diversity. Our Latino population is somewhere in the student body is around 34 to 39% Latino. So we know we're not done. This isn't to say that we're done, accomplished, check the box. This is simply progress that we've made, and it's been made over a period of years And we're not moving fast enough. We'll acknowledge that, but we are trying to move. And Charlie, I don't know if you want to hit on pieces of things that we've changed. I think the conversation of having a student on the faculty hiring committees, that's a conversation that has to happen through the academic senate. There's an academic senate component and a faculty assembly, a union component to who sits on the first round interview committees. Is that right? One administrator sits on the first round. So there's only one administrator that sits on every first round committee hiring. So that's a conversation that, Adrian, if I could have you help me take back to academic senate and we'll take it back to the union. I don't disagree with you, but there's a lot of work to change our processes and our contracts to allow for that to happen.
So what are the dates for these, do you have the dates?
For this data?
2018.
For the data?
2018.
Where can this be found online?
Our EEO plan updates that data every
other year.
equal employment opportunity plan for our college.
And right now, the numbers on the web currently are through 2016. So these numbers will go in when we update the plan this year, the 2018 numbers will go in there. So you won't see this yet because we'll be using this to update the plan.
And the all permanent employees category is all staff, administrators, and faculty. And we break them down in that EEO plan. We look at administrators separate from faculty, separate from staff. So there's a lot of data around that. But again, I want to acknowledge we're not where we want to be.
And then also the Hispanic, when you say MCC community percentage, Hispanic 21.4, what do you mean by that?
That is our district service area, our entire district service area that we are legislators.
Because here on campus it's 39%, quote unquote Hispanic.
I just acknowledged that, yep. We're enriched for the population in the Hispanic population.
And for the 39%, we only have 18.
Yes, you're right.
And have we applied for HSI funding?
We have, and we've not been successful. So that's an excellent question. So the HSI funding is based on if you are a poor district. And we are not defined as a poor district, so we're not competitive for HSI funding because the community in which we live is not a poor community overall. So we've applied, we'll continue to apply. We've not been successful. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. We certainly have portions, but overall as a district, we are not considered to be a poor district.
And what have you done to advocate for HSI funding?
HSI funding is determined at the federal level, so we certainly participate in organizations that help us be accessible and be prepared to write those grants. We work with the National Grant Writing Organization that regularly writes HSI grants. And so, Charlie, do you want to mention anything that's changed?
I just want to say that since 2013, so you go back about 5 years, you will see that the diversity overall for the campus in terms of faculty has incrementally gone up from 33% to 34% to 35% to 36%. So it's definitely getting better in terms of faculty numbers, and you have to kind of wait for people to sort of retire and that sort of thing for some of those numbers to improve. And part of the things that we're doing to help make those improvements includes training for hiring committees, being sure they understand bias training, what that means in terms of recruitment efforts, and that we train every hiring committee, every faculty person to be sure that they are aware of all the different aspects of that. And then, like you said, you can see on the second page of all the different professional training development that we've done and all the work that we've done in that area. So we are definitely, we have quite a few efforts in place, and the numbers are bearing fruit of that. But we just need, we are continuing enhancing our programs to be sure that we are going to try and enhance the diversity of our pools. And in part, you can only kind of well, what we're doing is we're gonna try and follow what we're talking about faculty currently, and these are all sort of in a kind of in the works plans is trying to even bring in the data a little sooner in terms of when we decide to recruit, so that we can have some more targeted time to go after targeted recruitment for diversity efforts to help improve our diversity pool. So we're having these conversations. Our numbers are slowly getting better.
So a while ago I talked about 1968. I talked about 51 years ago there was LA walkouts. It's been taking 51 years for a lot of progress, quote unquote progress to do. It seems like there is no progress. I feel this information is out there accessible for y'all, especially the people who will have the resources, like such as MiraCosta College. So yes, this is not for me. And I want to speak for the group. This is not acceptable. It should have taken students for you to get this data. It should have been done already. So I know you are talking about progress, quote unquote progress, but it needs to be quicker than that.
Okay. So we will be sure that you have access to the yellow plan that we do. All this progress that we're talking about has been taking place over the past 5 years and up through 2016. That data actually is available, so we can make sure that we let you know where to get that data and how things have progressed and changed over the years. Because what we're doing today and what we've done in the past 6 months to change those numbers over the past 5 years has been work that started 10 years ago. And so we have to share that information. And I am really sorry, but I have to get to my son's recognition and graduation dinner. I told my wife I wouldn't be too late, so I have to excuse myself. I think that my team here can help explain anything else, all the work that we've been doing, because I haven't been doing this by myself either. This has been a team effort, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here, but I gotta get home, so thank you.
So you asked about cultural studies courses, ethnic studies courses, and we've got, again, this is a work in progress. So Diane, do you want to talk about what you have been able to do?
I would love to. I've been sitting on my hands waiting to share some information with you. So I'm Diane Deckmeyer, and a lot of you I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet. I'm still relatively new. I've been here for about a year and a half, and I'm the VP of Instruction. So curriculum and programs and degrees are associated with the things that I oversee in instruction. One of the things that's interesting about, and by the way, I have to back up and say that I think it's brilliant of you as students asking for more ethnically, culturally competent degrees, programs, classes. It's absolutely brilliant. With that, I have to tell you that as an administrator, I don't have purview over creating programs and degrees. That's something that faculty have purview over. The Academic Senate has something called, which you may be familiar with, has something called the 10+1. And that means those are the 10 things plus one other thing that, that they have purview over. And one of those 10 is curriculum development. So while I'm not allowed to create a program, a degree, write a course, what I can do in my position is support the writing of those programs, degrees, courses, those sorts of things. I can support them through opportunities for faculty to have professional development, to grow in their pedagogy, to grow in their understanding of what they might want to offer, change. But I have to tell you that we have a lot of amazing faculty who are rewriting curriculum and developing programs and certificates. One of the things I do in my position is review all the curriculum. And so I brought an example in case I got the chance to share it. I'm glad that I do. One was in child development. So there was a child development course. So it might not look like this is not a new course. It's a modified course. So it wouldn't come across as being something new, a new degree. But what this faculty member did is modify the curriculum so that it says, this is a child development.
I have a question. So, child development is not something that we have brought up. We specifically want LGBTQIA, ethnic studies, Chicanx, Latinx. In your position, what are you doing to make sure that specifically those degrees and those areas are being covered? I appreciate you bringing the child development thing, but to be honest, that is not something that we're bringing. That's not something we're talking about. I feel for me, and I don't want to speak for the group, I feel more comfortable if you were to speak specifically about what we have presented. And this information has been made accessible to all of y'all, and we hope that y'all have looked over that information as well.
So I would say we've hired 2 full-time faculty, and Alicia's in the room, and Sean Davis is also one of those 2 faculty who've been hired specifically around the gender studies courses and programs, and Alicia around Chicano. We need to support them in this work, right? We can't do that work. We can't write the courses. We can't put the degrees and certificates together. But we're responsible for hiring those 2 individuals for developing those kinds of programs and courses. So that's a very concrete example of something that we can point to. But there's much more than that that's happening, and that's what we're trying to share.
So then it sounds like we need to hire more staff, specifically staff of color. It's something that we brought up as well.
And so that's what the previous segment is.
Yeah,
We totally agree with you, and we're working to do that. However, try to change an average of 205 faculty when you get to hire 12 and 17. So that's the trouble with average. And I've only been here 5. So we're doing what we can, and I'd like to acknowledge the work that you all are doing in raising these issues, and I'd love for us to acknowledge that there's work happening, and this is a journey. No one here is saying we're happy with this, right? That's why we're all here. That's why we're working towards the same kinds of things. So I don't know if you want to share anything.
I just wanted to share one thing I brought for your information. I only have the 1 copy. Happy to share it. But this shows our courses over the last fall and spring back to, I think, back to 2014. So it gives you an example of some of those courses that you're referring to, specifically in relation to gender studies, etc. So I'd be happy to share this. It shows an increase. It's a small increase, but it also shows what we call fill rates, which is some of the difficulty, and you mentioned marketing, which I agree with, some of the ways in which we can support these courses, because some of them, they're not filling. So I'll share this with you, and I appreciate and agree with the fact that we need to support these courses so that students know where to find them, so that they fill, so that they're successful, so that the faculty teaching them get the opportunity to hold on to those courses. Are you interested?
Can y'all help in supporting that and promoting those classes?
Yes,
because right now our professors are having to exhaust their resources to promote these classes. They're coming to us to promote these classes. What are y'all doing for them to promote these classes?
And I have to say, yes, we will do that. We will do that. I think we have been doing that. Not enough. We can do more. But I think word of mouth is very helpful also. So I don't want to play down student to student referrals as well. But yes, we will certainly do that.
But it shouldn't fall on us to
I'm not saying it's your sole responsibility. I agree with you. We have responsibility, and we will continue to do that. Do you want a copy of this?
We can pass it around.
So related to undocumented students, there's a segment, because I don't know that you're aware, I think one of our greatest issues is about communication. And so that's part of why today is a dialogue. It's the start of a dialogue. It's the start of a conversation. And I think there were assumptions made that we hadn't done anything about supporting undocumented students from a public declaration standpoint. So that whole next segment is about a board resolution, which is the highest level of commitment that you can make on behalf of the institution. When DACA was ended, there was a board resolution to make sure that people understand we do not release immigration status or other personal information. We do not collect immigration status for exactly that purpose, is to keep that status safe for our students. We refuse to work with immigration authorities. Our police do not cooperate with any kind of federal efforts to detain students. They are not involved in federal detention and status of immigration. Our police will never detain or question or arrest a student solely on the basis of immigration status. We will continue, and we continue to advocate for the rights of undocumented students. And you see a number of things that we have sent out as a result of that. I hear what you're saying, that you want to see that. You don't want to just see it in writing. You don't want to see it go out in various ways. And I don't know that you are aware we have private donors that have given money to our foundation solely to support undocumented students.
When you say undocumented, do you mean DACA?
I mean the whole gamut of undocumented students.
And Dr. Cook, most of these things that you do have here are DACA related.
Yes.
And DACA is not undocumented,
Yep.
and it's a mixed status too. There are people who do not even have DACA. What we are asking is for you to put out that declaration and specifically say undocumented students. I can read a portion of of our college support for and protection of undocumented students, staff, and their families on campus. We ask that MiraCosta guarantee privacy by refusing, so we want you to refuse to release information regarding the immigration status of our students, staff, and community members. So we want students, staff, and community members. We also ask that MiraCosta refuse to comply with immigration authorities regarding deportation rates.
And that is correct. We do that also.
And then I feel like that the reason we bring it up is because we haven't heard that message directly.
At least I haven't heard of it. And I can share with you the written information that says
so
we do those
is there a way
things.
that you can actually put out that declaration? You put out a lot of emails. I mean, this is something else that you can also put out.
We have, but I'll be happy to do it, and I'll be happy to share the resolution with you.
And specifically talk about undocumented students, because undocumented students are not documented students. And I'm sorry, compañera, you had something. No.
Yep, thank you.
And just to clarify, the foundation that we were talking about, it includes the undocumented. So it's not DACA, but it's actually support for undocumented students.
For which one?
The foundation that Sunny mentioned
anonymous gift
earlier,
that was given
and,
specifically
there was
for
question whether it was only for DACA or AB 540 students. Now that one specifically for the foundation is for undocumented
And
students.
the grant that we have, and I know you're sitting there for, with CSU San Marcos is for all students as well, undocumented, any status.
Yes, but the thing about that is like what happens is with documented or all students, it takes away from undocumented students, and we're specifically talking about undocumented students. There are resources out there for documented students, and those resources keep on coming up. But sometimes, there are those resources or any other resources take away from the students who really need it.
I know there's a compañera here who she has DACA and she does work on campus. Is there stipends? Their stipends are like cash for undocumented students that are able to work on campus.
So I want to be mindful of your time. You told us you had 40 minutes. And there are a couple of other things that I will just highlight quickly, and then we can answer questions, or we can end I just want to be respectful of your time.
Out of all these things, I guess we feel that the public declaration is the most doable that Dr. Cooke can do. We would expect you to do a public declaration before the end of the term, before the end of spring 2019.
So I would love for you to look at what is and what has been done, and then tell me where the gaps are. I'd love if you could assign me somebody to work with. I'd be happy to do that.
It sounds like you're saying that you're not going to do it.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
So,
but I'd love to do
yes or no?
it in a way that you're clear what you're asking me to do, and I'm clear what you're asking me to do.
All of these things right here, they talk about DACA. We're talking specifically about. We read to you, specifically what you could possibly say.
So I see us being in partnership. Would you like to edit what we're about to do? I would love a volunteer that would help us to do this. Because I am not saying I will not do this. I am absolutely saying I'll be happy to clarify what the statement of declaration is.
So it seems like we can meet again for that to happen and for us to collaborate with you for that public declaration.
Yeah, I guess is that a yes from you all?
Oh, I think we already talked about it. I mean, we would like to meet with you again. Sure. And have these conversations and hopefully keep them going. But I guess, out of all these things, I know they take time. It doesn't seem like, or I'm not understanding that you're saying that you will put out a public declaration before the end of the semester. So I don't know if you could make yourself a little bit more clear as to what you are going to do when it comes to making sure that undocumented students, staff, and anybody here is protected. I know you're referencing this, that's what I'm understanding, but everything here is talking about DACA.
These things in the far right column, am I mistaken? All of these things are for undocumented students as well as for DACA students. Am I mistaken? All these, we refuse to release immigration status, we refuse to work with the police.
But have you done it?
Absolutely.
Yes, that was part of the declaration.
Absolutely.
But I understand that you want a declaration specifically for undocumented and not to mix it up with the ones, because yes, this came at the time that DACA was in question. And so the college wanted to have a response around where we stand. And so yes, the parts of what we talk about, the interaction or not interacting with the immigration, I understand that you want a declaration specifically for unintended, but she wants to work with you to make sure that what it is that is being communicated is exactly what you're looking for. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Doctor, to actually understood that.
Yeah. Thank you. And so the other thing I would say, we certainly made a declaration of support for transgender students, and when things have been happening at the federal level, we tried to make sure that people understand it's not changing how we respond to transgender students, LGBTQIA issues and that kind of thing, so you have a little bit of information there. We are meeting with BSU, I think tomorrow. We are meeting with the GSA also tomorrow, I believe, so these things we can ponder a little more in detail at that point. We have, you all brought up mandatory cultural competency training within the board forum. We agree with you. We have made that unavoidable for our classified staff and our administrators. And again, it's an academic senate issue to mandate that for all faculty. So we are happy to support and make room and space and resources available for part of the flex credit that all faculty have to do part-time and full-time, and making sure that cultural competency is an important part of that. And we would work with your union and with Academic Senate to see how we can support faculty in doing that. But it is unavoidable for all staff and all of our administrators. So we heard you, and we've made that happen.
Would you be able to say like which specifically like culturally which topics you'd be targeting?
We can give you. There's a tremendous variety of them. We can give you kind of a list of those. We'll send them.
Yeah, because I think specifically because a lot of times people do. I feel like people confuse documented versus undocumented versus mixed status, and I think there's a confusion of that.
Yeah.
And also being sure to distinguish that, aside from gender, LGBTQIA, and anything else like that.
Sure, and I think along that work is also the work that, in terms of increasing, because I participated in the undocu mixed status ally training.
I did as well.
And Sunny did as well. And so I think for us it's very important is how do we encourage, more faculty and more staff to be part of that training, to have a better understanding of the differences between a DACA and a mixed status and undocumented, and the issues that each one of those groups address, and the common things that they have together, and the work that we need to do as an institution to support the future.
And then another thing I would also add as part of the cultural competency is having training for staff on how to keep our undocumented students safe as well. I mean, I don't think there's any training right now as how that goes, but I would also add that for the cultural competency.
So the last 2 pages are really things organized around what we heard you saying around professional development. We can clarify undocumented versus DACA. We didn't break that down. And then, the things that we are doing around formerly incarcerated or justice-impacted students, what we're doing to reach out to our communities through a VERA grant, what we're doing around cultural an assessment of our culture, the culture of our college, through a long-term project for 1.5 years, where all students will be surveyed. All students will be asked to participate in focus groups to tell us gaps that you see that we may not see, we may not experience. So we're going to ask for your honest feedback through surveys and through focus groups. And we will do the same with employees. Where are we having gaps that our employees feel? And we will work through, there's a group of 20 people, faculty, staff, students, administrators, that will be working through prioritizing what do we want to accomplish, where we see those gaps. What are the things that we want to tackle first around the various gaps that are seen in the culture of our college, and then moving forward with that. So that's a long-term project that's 1.5 years in at least identifying and getting some of that work done. And then you see there were issues around safety that was raised in that forum. And so we've told you some of the things that are available. I would say to you, we can build on this. We do, if you feel unsafe walking to your car at night, we do have the ability to have someone walk to your car with you. And we can work through who those folks are and expanding that service. But we have, all kinds of safety pieces that are here.
I don't want you to read into this document that we think we need to run out and hire more police. That is not what we're saying. And if somebody's seen that there, we're simply saying, because a question was raised about cultural competency and racial awareness of our police, we're talking about what our police.
And then also maybe the police officers getting training on how to protect undocumented students if need be. And then one thing I don't know if you're to specify any dates. We would like to know when you were going to put up the statement. We'd also like to know when you'd like to meet next. And then also, I know you mentioned some of the programs that are being implemented. I don't know if you'll also be able to share like when, at like a time frame of those dates as well.
Programs.
Yeah, you just mentioned about like professional development. When are people going to get trained?
All through the spring semester, all of our staff and all of our administrators,
so
if they haven't already been.
Making that information accessible and transparent. I think more than anything, I think the lack of transparency is what is making us ask these questions. But I think at this point, like, I know we are running out of time. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say, but I think we can go ahead and just see when you're going to do the
So scheduling has been a difficulty, right? We've been trying to schedule a meeting with this group since January now. Now it's March and we're here.
Our information is out. Like I said, we try to be transparent. We have a social media page. Our information is there. We check our message email regularly. It doesn't have to be third party. It can be direct. But if y'all are not coming to us directly, then that's not on us. Our information is out there. But when will you be able to put up the public statement?
I think it depends on when we can get together and when we can meet and we can forge.
So can we set a time?
I don't have my calendar with me,
Okay,
but
so
we will do that through the email. We can do that through the email.
Yeah, because we're ready to set a time. So hopefully go ahead.
And will you be contacting us directly, or will you be going through the advisors again?
I think the advisors need to be in the loop. So what I did
they definitely are.
I go
but
through the email and I copy the advisors.
Okay, but we were reached out to me today by our advisors versus you, so that's why I'm asking, will you be contacting us directly?
I'll go through the email account and copy the advisors.
Yeah, we would like to be contacted directly. It just needs to be our advisors. We do have a voice, and we definitely can respond.
Thank you all for your time.
We're just going to go ahead and finish it. We would invite you to stay. This is the way that...
And please understand, this is the beginning of a dialogue. Transparency starts because we sit face to face and we ask questions and we listen and we learn. So we appreciate the opportunity, and it really is just the beginning.
So we are going to give about 5 minutes for open conversation for anybody that would like to say something. Students. So this is kind of open space, and then we will be closing it with the staff. Is anybody else anything to say?
So just a comment. So with all due respect, I just would like to let you guys know that no one knows the courses better than the students. We have to take them, we go through them, and we struggle to schedule our schedules. And that is why we are here.
Thank you. I think we have some more BSU members. I don't know if y'all would like to say something. And we also want to thank you for coming today.
And we're meeting with BSU tomorrow.
At what time and where?
Does anybody have that on the calendar?
Basically, yeah. Wait.
2 to 3 p.m. in Temescal.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank you guys for coming here, and thank you all for being in our space and being willing to come and to really share what you guys are doing as administrators and what y'all are doing for us as students and how we can be included in the conversation. Thank you.
I do have a question. Oh, sorry. I was going to ask, so you mentioned that you hired Profesora Alicia and Bruce full-time. When?
Sean Davis.
Sean Davis. When was the last time that other professors of color got hired full-time before
I would
that?
say 2/3 of our faculty hires every single year in the 5 years I've been here. At least 2/3 have been faculty that are diverse, of color. Every year. Absolutely every year.
I'm sorry, I want to say this there, because I know you said about safety escort services. Have you specified who that is? Is that the police? Or
Right
has
now
anybody
it is.
specified?
Right now it is. It's not the police officers, it is the staff, but it is under that department. But it's not the police officers.
So if I can again, so I think earlier you stated that there's white supremacy, in the world, and that it is rising. I would like to just acknowledge that we are not the world. We are a community, so there should be a difference.
And I think it takes all of us to make that happen. It can't be the five of us. It's we are that community.
And MEChA has been putting in work, and y'all have been getting the emails of us documented these white supremacy stickers as well. So
are brave and bold and coming together to move us towards progress, right? So I know it's intimidating to talk to administrators, and I just salute y'all and put my heart out to you because I appreciate that from the staff.
Because I was trying to sort of share the same that Jonathan mentioned as well, but also to add to it the appreciation that I have when I see the red shirts in the events that we have in outreach communities, because it's wonderful. Like at the Encuentros this Saturday, there were several of you that were there, visible and present and helping and supporting, and that is supporting our community. So I'm grateful for the work that you do, because I understand that you are students and you have a lot on your plate, but you make a priority to support our community and to represent the students and to bring the voice of the students. So for that, thank you very much. Thank you.
So I wasn't here in the 1980s. I was somewhere else. I was in Mexico, probably growing up. But I'm here today, and I feel like we're back at the 1980s, 2019. And I'm glad to be part of this moment right now.
I think you're not alone in feeling that we have moved backwards. You're not alone.
There's no way you're making history again. So maybe some more comments? Anybody have anything?
Thank you. For me, I'd just like to acknowledge the people that we've reached out in solidarity, and that y'all came here. We really appreciate that. MEChA really appreciates that. We just want to really thank you for that. I know, like compañera was saying, sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating speaking to administration. But I also want to thank the people who did facilitate the meeting as well. Because most of our compañeros and compañeras and compañeras is it's first year, and they're already sitting right in front of talking to the president, and that is amazing. So thank you. So I think with that, we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting. We invite y'all to stand up. We are going to conclude the meeting with the news recap.